Hey, welcome to the Secret Garden Homestead. For those of you that are new to our channel, my name is Christina, and me and my family purchased this a little over 1 acre piece of property located in the Bay Area, California. Back when we purchased the property, there was pretty much nothing on it but a couple of old fruit trees and a very, very old, outdated house. And I actually did a tour when we bought the property of exactly what was on it before we touched it. So if you're interested in looking back at that video, I'll link it right here. Over the last year, we've made a couple of updates to the property, and I thought it'd be really cool to go and give you a tour. The purpose of this channel is to document our family purchasing this property with pretty much nothing on it and turning it into a thriving homestead. So whether you're a new homesteader, or you're thinking of buying your property, or you bought your property and done nothing, or you're just interested in homesteaders, this is the channel for you. We're gonna document everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if that's the kind of content that you like, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. I do try to post once a week on the things that we're working on, whether it being harvesting, planting, building, everything homestead related. I'm documenting here to show you what it takes to start a brand new homestead. Okay, enough talking. I want to get to the actual tour. So behind me is what we call our traditional backyard, and it has a lot of cool things, but I'm going to save that part till the very end of the video. In front of me is what we call our back field, and it pretty much, when we bought it, was a very blank canvas of just grass. And we've done a lot of work back here. It doesn't look like it, but I want to start the tour here. So let's go. Okay, I just flipped the camera around, and this right here, this new arbor that we put up, is going to be the entrance to what we're calling our secret garden. And it leads into our backfield. So the idea here is that Ryan is going to be putting up fences on both sides, and then I think he's going to weld a gate for right here that you can walk into, and you're going to walk into our backfield, which feels a little bit like a secret garden. The reason why we call ourselves the Secret Garden Homestead is that we're a little bit in the country, but we're also in the suburbs. Our property, our very back fence, backs up to an HOA. So we're close to pretty much any major grocery chain. We can get into the city in like 5 minutes, but it feels like we're in the country, and I think that's really cool. So we consider ourselves like a mini secret garden amongst a bunch of houses that actually can't really see from our property, but they are around us. So I think that's a really cool element of our homestead. We're not really tucked away in the country, and yet we still have an acre here of our own little paradise. Okay, so I just walked over into our backfield, and I wanted to give you a glimpse of this part of the homestead. And honestly, I wanted to do this because it looked like a hot mess. But I told you on this channel that I'm committed to showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so while I want to show you the ugly, and I kind of just did, I want to start with the good first. So this year, Ryan and I focused on building our chicken coop. This was the first major piece of infrastructure that we focused on when we got here. We had chickens that we had to move from our old place into this place. We were renting before. And so the first thing that we tackled was building our, what we're calling forever chicken coop. We added some really sweet aesthetic elements to it, like brick and all this wood here. I haven't showed you the barn yet, but everything that you see on the chicken coop, like the siding, all came from, and even the roof, all came from elements that were already on the homestead. So we have an old dilapidated barn. We took wood from that and we turned that into siding here. This planter box we repurposed and we moved it here. Ryan built that from the old falling down barn, and then the roof is actually from old fencing that was also around the homestead. So for the most part, what we've tried to do is go through the homestead, find things that we can repurpose and use back on the homestead so that we can save some money. I also have a full video for this chicken coop that I'll link above. The next thing I want to point out is we carved off about 2,000 square feet and planted 16 fruit trees. This is phase 1 of our orchard, And we planted apples. So I'll show you. We planted some apples. I think this one is a Fuji apple. This one also is a Fuji apple. I have an Empire apple here. And then we have some plums. This is a Japanese plum. A Santa Rosa plum. You can see they're starting to lose their leaves. I have 3 avocado trees. This one is a Haas, I believe. This one's a Fuerte. And I think this one's a Lamb Haas. I have a Tilden apricot. My all-time favorite, a Santa Rosa plum again. An Anna apple. 2 pear trees. I think it's D'Anjou and Bartlett. A persimmon that didn't take. I think this tree died. We have to take it out. And then a Granny Smith apple. So that's our total orchard right now. It's a very young orchard, but the first thing that we wanted to do, besides building the chicken coop, was putting in a brand new orchard so that our family could have fruit year round. And what we tried to do with our orchard was actually arrange the trees in such a way where I'm harvesting from right to left. So trees all the way down there, probably excluding the avocados. Those have kind of a different timeline. I have like my apricot and my plums, those ripen first. And then as you move down towards the left part of the orchard, it's more of your apples and pears. And those are ready to harvest a little bit later than the apricots and the plums. So we tried to have an order to that so that we're kind of moving down the orchard as we're harvesting. We do have plans to triple the size of the orchard. So this year we plan on planting another 16 trees, and that's going to be primarily our stone fruits. So things like peaches, nectarines. We are planning on planting mangoes. We are planting cherries and a couple other things I'm probably forgetting, but those are going to go right here. And then year 3, down the line, we're probably going to plant another 16 trees here. So we plan on having a very robust and thriving, mature orchard. And part of the plan there is I'd love to have some sort of like fruit stand outside, farm stand, or even a CSA if our trees produce well. I do have a couple other trees here. I don't know what varieties they are. I don't know if we're going to keep them. This is a random apple tree. It hasn't produced. It doesn't look super great. So I'll probably take that out. I think this is here too. These trees came with the Homestead. Their trees never really did much of anything. Except for over here is a pomegranate, and I actually harvested pomegranates off of it this year, which is really cool. And I hear pomegranates mature really, really fast. I actually did buy another pomegranate for over here to kind of match. This variety, I believe, is like a Chinese variety of pomegranate, so it doesn't get as red of seeds. It gets more like of a white pinkish color, and I know that because our neighbor has the same tree. So I bought actually a wonderful pomegranate to go right here. So having 2 different varieties of pomegranates would be really cool. And then here, this is the only tree back here in the back orchard, I don't know how old it is, that really produced for us this year. And this is a Italian prune plum, I believe. It was really, really hard to tell. I thought it was just a plum, but they were super sour and hard, and then eventually they turned to prunes. So I'm pretty sure it's some sort of prune tree. I don't know if we're going to keep that. I don't know if we loved that as a family, but for now it's really hard to take down a thriving tree. So if you know what to do with Italian prune plums, let me know. I would love to know. Okay, so that is basically the trees that we have back here. Okay, so now let's talk about the bad. Something I wasn't prepared for on getting a property, which I should have been prepared for, but I don't know why I just wasn't, was the amount of mess and like half-finished projects that are always around. So, for example, I'm going to turn you back around. All this cardboard that you see here, we had a vision, and I've talked about this in another video, so I'm not going to go into full detail about it, but we plan on basically on our whole orchard doing the Back to Eden garden method. It's going to help us with this grass that tends to grow really, really fast, that we don't have anything to eat it down. It's going to help with preventing a lot of weeds. It's going to help with water retention. We get really hot here, and last year we didn't have any irrigation. This is a failed project, this cardboard right here. We were planning on getting our Back to Eden orchard transformation video out, but with the weather the way that it was and the crazy winds that we had, we didn't get that. And we have yet to pick up the cardboard. I think it's a shame to waste it. We're trying to figure out what to do. This is just one of those things with homesteading. You start a project and then you hit a roadblock, and it's like super discouraging, but you have to keep going. This is evidence of that. A half-baked project that eventually you'll get to, and you just kind of live with on the homestead for a while. Another thing, Ryan over here is building our new duck coop, and essentially we want symmetry. So we have our chicken coop over there, we have our entrance coming in here, and then we want to have a very similar aesthetic that matches our chicken coop over here on our duck coop. So when you're looking into our backyard from the back of the property, you're seeing two really beautiful structures. We really want to bring beauty and functionality to this homestead, so that's really important to us. So that's another project that Ryan is working on. We are heavily focused on infrastructure. Okay, here's another reality. Buying a homestead or a piece of property anywhere pretty much is really expensive, and so you're likely not going to be able to get something that is completely ready to go. And so for us, we are missing a ton of fencing. So that is going to be another high priority project that Ryan is working on. So I'm going to show you that. This is actually our fence line, and those are our neighbors. And we have to get a better fence up. This is something I have to look at every single day, which I don't actually mind, but I don't really feel comfortable with the kids coming out here to play because we lack fences. Even our neighbors on the other side, they have a beautiful pasture, but the fencing is just for large animals. I think they once had a horse. And so, my kids can get through it. So we have to be really careful. There's no fences. Okay, looking over here, going a little bit further into our backfield, we have this massive wood chip pile, or this massive pile of branches and trees. When we moved in here, all the trees were overgrown and we had to cut things back a lot, and we thought this is perfect. So we spent a lot of time cutting things down and making a pile, and this is what's going to become the wood chips for our Back to Eden orchard transformation. I can't tell you enough how important it is that when you buy your property to try and use every part of it. So we were always looking at, okay, what can we do from what we already have? And so cutting down trees or cutting back trees and using that as some sort of mulch is like one of the best things that you can do on your new homestead. Another thing is we have this very, very old barn that sits in pretty much the center of our backfield. And I think it was an old goat barn. It did once have water to it, but it's pretty dilapidated and we do not plan to restore it. It kind of sits looking at our neighbor's property, and it's just, in our opinion, just too far gone. But we have taken this siding over here and the wood that isn't rotted out, and we have been reusing it. So you can kind of see like Ryan's been taking out pieces at a time. So this year, another priority is to actually get this structure down. And this again will add to the accumulation of stuff on the ground because we need somewhere to store it. We have no infrastructure here on this property, so we don't even have a shed to store our wood. It's something we have to build. But we want to get it down because, as you can tell, it's leaning pretty bad. I don't think it even sits on a foundation. If my kids are out here, I don't want them doing something to where it falls down. So we've got to get it down, and that's another high priority that we have for this year. What we're planning on putting in its place, I'm really excited about. Ryan and I went to an estate sale and we found a really beautiful glass greenhouse, new in the box. We got it for super cheap compared to what it retails at online, and we're gonna put that right here, and it's gonna be so pretty because it's gonna face the entrance to our backfield, and then all the trees hopefully are going to grow in, and you can walk through the trees, and then it will lead you into this greenhouse. And here, what I want to have are, these are old raised beds, but if you can imagine it, I want to have new raised beds on this side, and then also, you can't see, but on this side over here. And I want to plant a little flower farm. Now, I am not a flower farmer, but I do love flowers, and I think flowers have utility. I think oftentimes when you're thinking of a homestead, you're thinking of growing your own food. And I am thinking about that too, but I think it'd be really cool to grow flowers. And the main reason why is because everything here in California is so expensive, and that includes flowers for when you're getting married. And I went to this wedding once where one of the ladies' gifts to, it was my cousin who was getting married, was to give them the flowers for their wedding. And I think it'd be really fun to plant wedding type florals all over the property so that young couples could come and pick their own flowers to do their own DIY weddings. So that is kind of the vision I have in mind. It would also be nice to go outside and pick my own bouquets for inside my house. But for us, this is kind of like a long-term way that we can give back to the community. So I'm really excited for this little space right here. I'm on the back of it now, to be a walk-in little flower cottage section. And that's gonna be really cool. And then over here, again, this is on the right side of our backfield, we plan on putting in some greenhouses for actually planting our gardens. This gets a lot of sun. We do have a lot of trees, but in that particular area there is a lot of sun. So that is where the primary gardening will happen. And then if I go to the very, very back, and I'm really excited about this project, it's probably another year away, but if you watched our tips for beginning homesteaders video, which I'll link right here, you heard us say that a top priority that beginning homesteaders should have is to plant perennials. And so we are still very committed to that before we get any greenhouses and start growing annual vegetables. In this back part of the backfield, so I'm pretty far back at this point, we want to make our berry patch. So the things that I have planned for this area is maybe putting a little bench under this black walnut tree, which looks pretty sad right now because we're in winter, but it's very lush in the spring and summertime. And then putting rows back here where it gets really sunny of raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, probably along the fence line. I want to do like a mini strawberry patch over here. And then I do want to plant 2 trees. I want to plant a fruiting mulberry tree and an elderberry tree. So I want to find some place back here to do that. And I'll show you this over here. That over there is our neighbor's property. They have a long, beautiful pasture. So I love looking at that. It makes it feel like we're in the country, even though we're kind of in the middle of suburbia. And then this whole space right here, what I want to do eventually down the line is I want to get sheep. I think one of the primary reasons to homestead is to be able to provide your own protein. I don't think that this property could sustain cattle. So the next best thing, in my opinion, are sheep. And not only they help us provide protein for our family, they'll also help us keep the grass down. We have so much grass. It's not quite pasture land, but I think that the grass here could help sustain 2 or 3 or 4 sheep. So I'm pretty excited about that. Those are kind of the primary visions that we have for our backfield. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot of work. Everything takes a little bit longer than what you would expect. Okay, so that was my tour of the back area. And now I want to take you guys along to what we're calling our backyard. It's still a very big backyard, but there's really cool elements of things that we want to do. So I'm walking through right now the entrance that we have to the backfield, and I'm now entering our backyard. So this is our backyard, and I want to start looking over here. One really cool feature that our property has are these really tall redwood trees, and we have them on both sides of the property. I don't know if you can see. We've got a lot of trees, but there's very large redwood trees in there. And at first I didn't really like them, but they have totally grown on me. So I'm gonna walk you over here on this side, and I'm gonna show you these 3. And inside we have a vision of kind of making this like a fun kid zone. So in the trees, doing a very epic playhouse or treehouse with a slide coming down, and maybe doing a sort of like jungle gym thing over here. And you know, we've debated this because, you know, our kids will grow up and then one day they won't use it anymore. So is it a good use of space? I would say yes, because hopefully one day they're gonna have kids, and then we'll have grandkids that come and can use it if we take good care of it. So we're gonna turn this into a kid-friendly treehouse and jungle gym swings. That's kind of what this space is going to be used for. So I'm really excited about that. We will definitely film a video about building our treehouse in those 3 redwood trees. And then over here to the most right side of our backyard, we have a citrus grove. And this was actually a pleasant surprise. Last year, these trees didn't do much of anything. I barely got any lemons. So this is a lemon tree here. That is a large lilac tree back there. Don't know if I love it. I don't find lilacs to be in particular that pretty. So I'm kind of debating what I'm going to do there. But over here I have a huge orange tree, which needs to be pruned back quite a bit. But it's a navel orange tree. It's absolutely beautiful and it tastes amazing. This tree produced for us last year. It's really exciting. So I think these will be ready to harvest within the next month. I have a grapefruit tree over here, which was completely overgrown and wasn't bearing anything. And so I'm finally getting some nice green leaves from it. So I'm babying it because it would be very, very, very cool to have grapefruits produce for us. I have a Dancy tangerine over here, which is completely loaded. I do plan on doing a harvesting video for the month of January on harvesting this tree and our orange tree and some lemons. So I'm really excited about that. And then I have been babying this lime tree in a pot for a long time, so it's finally time for it to go in the ground. Something that we are planning on doing is expanding what I'm calling our citrus grove. So I think we have 5 more trees that we're going to be planting into the citrus grove, which is going to double the size of this citrus grove. And I think we're going to plant, let's see, a blood orange tree, 2 more mandarin oranges. So one thing I want as a goal for this homestead is to be able to harvest fruit year-round. So I'm looking for varieties that mature at different times so that I always have something in season that I can come out and pick versus having to go to the grocery store for like 3 months out of the year. One of the main attractive points about living in California is our growing season. It's almost 365. We're in zone 9B, but it does get a little bit cold, and so we have to live with eating citrus fruits, which are really yummy. Not quite as yummy as like peaches and things, but they are super yummy. And so I just want to maximize that, and I want to make sure that every single month of the year I have something that I can harvest or my kids can harvest to keep us out of the grocery store. The way that the previous owner had kind of designed this backyard portion of what we're calling our homestead is they were really into like feng shui and like tai chi and things like that, which we're not into. But they divided the property with this little walkway, which I think is cute. But one day we're just probably going to turn this whole thing into grass. But mainly what they did was they made this tree maze. This is what we call it. And it literally was a tree maze. It was full of trees, and that included these beautiful birch trees. How they explained it to us is I think they had grandkids. You could enter from here, and at this point we've kind of cut it back a lot. And then in the center, let's see if I can go in there. I actually haven't really been in this tree maze before. My kids love it, so we've decided to keep it for a little bit longer. But in the center, you could maybe have like a little garden spot and be able to look at everything or feel secluded. I'm not exactly sure what was the point of this, but we are likely going to tear it down and put grass for the kids to play, or have a little spot to raise meat chickens. We don't really know yet. I think that's the coolest part about homesteading, is that as you start to realize the potential of the property, you get new and fresh ideas and you get excited all over again, which I think is really cool. Another part of buying this property that was really intriguing to me was it has a lot of nooks and crannies. So this is actually our side yard. Don't mind the trash. Like I said, I'm kind of showing you exactly what we have right now. I didn't doll up this place at all for you guys, because I just want to be real. But there's a lot of different little side yards that one day I think we can turn into some cute things. But this is one of them. It comes out of my kids' playroom. It's probably about 350 square feet. And then we have another side yard. It's probably double that. And my kids play chalk out here. And then we have our little wraparound back porch that I love. There's this little spot here. I also think that the previous owners were Catholic, so I think this was like a dedicated space for that. We've taken that down because we are not Catholic. And I don't know, I think this little space has a lot of potential for something cute. Something that Ryan and I are kind of committed to with the homestead is creating moments. So when people are walking through it or we're walking through it, everything is intentional and has a space. And so we want to make sure that what we're doing kind of makes sense in the space that it's in. So with that in mind, one thing that we really want to do is have an outdoor kitchen from our house right there. And on the most left side of the property, the backyard, is this little spot. So here's this little spot. There's a funny story behind these pile of bricks, and that is Ryan found them at an estate sale, and he's like, this would be perfect for the outdoor kitchen. So he's gonna put the outdoor kitchen right here. But in order to buy them, they were super cheap. In order to buy them, he had to pick them up off the ground and load them into his truck. And he had the kids with him. And at that time, the kids were like 2 and 3 years old, maybe 3 and 4 years old. And he did it. They all did it. It was crazy. So now we have the brick for that project, but that will take us a long time to get to because that involves electrical and plumbing and things like that. But I think this would be a really cool spot for an outdoor kitchen. And then once this part is cut back, you can kind of see the kids like playing on the grass or in the treehouse. It's just kind of like a tranquil little spot for an outdoor kitchen. We get really great weather here, especially at night. Like our nighttime temps can be sometimes like 75, 80 degrees with like a light breeze, and it feels perfect just to come out and eat outside. So we want to capitalize on that and have some sort of outdoor kitchen. And then if I walk a little bit more this way, this space right here, look at that redwood, it's absolutely huge. I honestly am not sure exactly what to do with it. It's like an L. I'll show you. It's just overgrown with trees. They have a little seating area here. I don't know if I'll keep that. You can see like that old fence there. We're gonna have to do something. This is more of the style of fence that we want. So Ryan has a lot of building to do. And then there's this little spot here. I'm thinking it could be really cool to have a little spot with a dedicated fire pit and like hammock or slack line. It almost feels like in the homestead, this is the part where it reminds me the most about like camping or lounging. Like if I were to go to like Yosemite, it feels like a little slice of Yosemite in this little spot right here. So I think coming off of the kitchen would be really cool to maybe do like some sort of like game, whether it like be bocce or like a putt or something. I don't know. I don't want it to be too kitschy. This is like one of those things where I'm just like talking out loud and thinking, but then coming in over here and having like a fire pit and a hammock and slackline, I think that would be really, really cool. But more to come with that. These are ideas that I have for way down the line. And so there it is. That's kind of our backyard right here. And if I turn around, that's our back field. And that is what we're working with. I am so excited to document our journey of turning this into a thriving homestead. I have so many more ideas, but they're hard to all talk about because right now this property is more like potential and less realized. And so it's hard to articulate all the things that I want to do. But those were some of the big ideas that I had. And I hope that you guys will choose to follow along with us in this journey. I'm really excited. And I do plan on posting once a week. So if you are interested in this kind of content, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next week.